Hey y'all.
What's up?
So we here.
And we're live. We're not actually live. We just like to say that. And we stole that from somebody.
That's right. So props to the person we stole it from. You know who you are.
You know who you are. Also props to our good friend R.G. We're just going to say initials because we don't want nobody to run down on you. But you were the inspiration you weren't the inspiration for this topic, but we were thinking about you when we were about to talk about this because you were in New York recently spending some time with us and doing some work with us, and you were talking crazy about the Notorious B.I.G. And we had to run down on you in Harlem on the corner of Lenox and you know where.
2-6.
Okay?
Okay?
So shout out to you, brother.
But we love you and we miss you. We hope you're doing well. We're glad to see you're doing some great things. But
March 9th.
Moving on.
Right. Moving on.
To the topic that sort of spurned all of this is March 9th, 2 days ago, marked the 23rd anniversary of the transitioning of the Notorious B.I.G. And so while we were paying homage to Big on that day, we couldn't forget that quite recently we lost another Brooklyn hip-hop legend, or soon-to-be legend, in Pop Smoke. And in those 23 years difference in the time, responses to the deaths of both have been very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's been similar in a lot of ways. One, in terms of the response from the communities that these two young men came from, is always sort of poignant and powerful. Like Big, Pop Smoke was given a homegoing that entailed an entourage, a procession through the streets of Brooklyn, which was very powerful to watch. But it really made us think about the fact that these were really young men. Big was 24 when he passed in 1997.
Pop was 21. 20. He was 20 years old. Not even 21 years old. And that's important. He wasn't even 21 years old. And there were a lot of similarities in the way in which these two came onto the scene, sort of burst onto the scene in a very Brooklyn kind of fashion, and then shortly thereafter were wiped out. Not lost on us was the fact that they both died in California. No shade to California. However, it seems to me that cats from Brooklyn keep going to California and not making it back home. So shade to California if you take it, and be a little careful, California folks, when you come to these Brooklyn streets.
Whoa.
We love you. We love you. We're always going to take care of you. We're going to take care of our community. This was just a separate issue.
Yeah. These were young men that were artists.
Right.
That were rapping about their experiences, things that happen in the street, either personal or the experiences of others. And we were thinking and talking about the response. Our community response is what it has always been. But in the mainstream, the level of apathy that is thrown when someone from the hip hop community in particular is killed. There's this idea that violence begets violence, that they're rapping about street issues or the street life, and that they just get whatever comes with that.
Got what you got.
But what's really profound is the fact that these are essentially our children. These are young men, 20 and 24, who were artists, who were giving a representation of their experiences and the experiences of folks in their community. And if you think about some major pop star, I won't say any names, being gunned down, the response from the mainstream would be uproarious. They wouldn't be just, oh well, he passed, and folks that are into hip hop or from the community are the only ones to truly mourn and bring light and attention to the lives of these young men.
And it really got me to thinking about this idea that violence is something that Pop Smoke or Biggie Smalls could have created, right? That they died at the hands of violence that they created. I thought about the story of Willie Bosket, All God's Children, And what they did was what Butterworth did was he traced the lineage of Willie Boskett's family, and it landed on a court building in South Carolina with two politicians. I believe they were senators or assemblymen in that area, dueling it out on the court steps until the death, dueling it out until someone died. Government officials dueling it out until someone died during the time of or right after slavery, in the midst of slavery. And so this idea that a Pop Smoke, a 20-year-old young man, or Biggie Smalls, a 24-year-old young man, could have created this intense violence that we've lived under for all of these years predates them by the time that we had prior to us even getting to the shores of this country.
Right.
And so...
Right. And so they can't be held responsible or accountable
for all of that.
Right, for all of that, for the overarching issues that we know impact a Biggie or a Pop Smoke.
And their art form.
Or how they eventually transition from this world, which is through acts of violence.
Right.
They didn't create that. They don't have a hand in the historical structure of what has led to cultures of violence in disenfranchised communities. And we, as folks that are from those communities, shouldn't participate in that. Right. We shouldn't participate in commentary and judgment about these young men being killed and making that something that they themselves are responsible for.
Because that's a terrible slippery slope.
That's a terrible slippery slope.
That's right.
And we always have to keep in mind the background and the history of things.
As particularly things in this country that we are now being laden with the responsibility.
That's right. Things that have a root and an inception. So R.I.P. Biggie Smalls.
R.I.P. Pop Smoke. And on a closing note, Jay Electronica's album is finally dropping. Jay, don't disappoint us.
So says Tawana B. Johnson. Tawana B. Johnson from New
York City.
That's another story and a good one. That's one that we're going to make a video about.
That's right.